Welcome everyone. My name is Abhiram Gujjevar, and this is a developer live session for enable self-service data discovery and improve data governance. In this session, we might be talking about some future roadmap plans, and that is why this safe harbor statement for you. Let's start with why customers or organizations need a data catalog in Oracle Cloud in the first place. You're a data engineer, you're a data scientist, you're a developer, you're a data steward, you're working with data all the time. But one of the challenges that we see all the time is finding trusted data for whatever task you may be doing. So Oracle Data Catalog focuses on three types of problem domains, if you will, when it comes to learning and understanding your data. First of all, for analytics, since there is no holistic view of data, it's very hard to find the right data. It's very hard to understand the business context behind it. And if there are any issues, it's hard to work together to resolve those and troubleshoot those data issues. If you're a data engineer or a data scientist, you're working in data lakes, but data lakes have just a lot of files. It is very hard for any developer or data scientist without a proper schema to actually utilize those files. So your utilization of data lake will be hampered if you don't have proper schema definitions that would be actually shared across. That way knowledge is actually reused. So that's the second problem statement that we're trying to go after. And then third is about data governance. You want to make sure that the data is used in the right manner, the meaning of data is understood properly. The stakeholders from data governance office actually have overall visibility into what data estate you have. Data catalog can also help with improving the data governance initiatives that you may have in your organization. Now let's see how OCI Data Catalog can help you with some of these challenges. It all comes down to metadata. When we talk about understanding data, we're talking about data, which is metadata. So OCI Data Catalog can help you in the following ways. First of all, it will help you solve the challenge of data discovery. It will help you find trusted data in data stores within Oracle Cloud ecosystem. And that means that whether you have data in Oracle on-prem systems or OCI systems or other cloud services, it will be able to give you information about the data so that you can find it. For data lake type of use cases, it will provide a unified data catalog, which is like a meta store, especially on top of object storage-based data lakes. And this is very important because once you have that meta store, you can actually use that to understand what's in the data lake, and then around that, combine that information with information that you may have in your RDBMS systems or data warehouses, and actually query those things as a unified consumption layer. And that's very useful when you're looking at logical data warehouses that span across different storage systems. Third, and the most important thing I should say when it comes to data catalog is that it's going to add value to other services in Oracle ecosystem by providing other capabilities that are based on metadata. So for example, you have data management tools, you have analytics tools, you have data science tools. They can use the discovery information. They can use the governance related information. They can use the business concepts. They can use the business context around data and much more. And that is why data catalog service is actually a no-brainer, is a must-have whenever you have any Oracle ecosystem footprint in your organization. Now let's look at some of the primary use cases that we have for data catalog. We talked about the challenges of finding data. Well, we will help you quickly discover data across different types of systems. We are starting with, obviously we started with OCI systems like Object Store and ADW, but we have expanded now to on-prem systems, Oracle systems, and also some non-Oracle systems that we'll talk about. Eventually, it's going to help you basically find data in your Oracle ecosystem quickly for analytics purposes. And the second part we talked about was business glossary. When we talk about meaning of data, we're talking about business concepts. What does customer mean? What does customer ID mean? What does store mean? What does foreign tax credit mean? All those things need a business vocabulary. Catalog can help you build that vocabulary, also help you add business context to your technical metadata so that you get a more holistic view, which obviously helps with data governance. Now, how does it fit in the overall platform? As you can see, there is the overall, like I would say, architecture of our solution space. You have the base layer of infrastructure. Then you have data integration capabilities, management capabilities, and on the top you have analytics or data consumption layers, if you will. Data catalog kind of sits in the middle. It's pervasive from my perspective. It actually not only works with other systems by talking and ingesting metadata and putting it all together, but it also feeds back that information to those systems that actually care about it. So if you're an analytics customer, Catalog can help you understand data that is in your ADW system or even OAC systems to know more what is this about, where is it coming from, and so on. So Data Catalog, in a way, is kind of the metadata backbone of the Oracle ecosystem that we're trying to build, which will not only ingest metadata from different systems, but also provide value-added integrations based on that metadata knowledge base. Catalog service is relatively new, if you will. It was launched last year. We are coming up actually 1 year anniversary now. It's live in 20 commercial regions, and most importantly, it's available at no cost, current capabilities at no cost, because we believe that by using Data Catalog, you can actually gain more value, and that's our goal. We want our customers to gain more value from their investments in Oracle ecosystem, the workloads that they're running in Oracle Cloud, by using the catalogs, discovery, and metadata catalog capabilities in the overall solution architecture. Now, let's quickly look at the current capabilities. It's a pretty dense slide, I understand that, but in a way, it's kind of split in 4 different pillars. First is about collecting technical metadata, what we're calling harvesting. So we have capability to actually talk to multiple systems that are listed here. They are Oracle, non-Oracle systems, cloud or on-prem, and then build that technical knowledge base. And then there are some special capabilities for logical entities for data lakes. Once you collect the metadata by harvesting, now you want to enrich that we are calling metadata curation. And enrichment happens in the form of business glossaries that we are building. It happens in the form of free-form tags. It happens in the form of custom enrichments that you may want to add as your business context in the catalog. And then eventually, when all that is put together, we connect the dots and we give you a great search and browse experience so that you can find the things that you're looking for, see the details of objects that you have in your data estate, and then use it appropriately once you find something that is interesting. And now all of this is sitting on top of Oracle Cloud infrastructure. So it is optimized for that. It's secure, it's scalable, it inherits all the great stuff that OCI provides. Beyond that, if you're a developer, if you're an application developer, you can actually use REST APIs that we have to integrate catalog capabilities into your applications, into your services. And you have a bunch of SDKs available as well. And then, of course, security is paramount. And that security aspect is enabled via IAM-based policy management in OCI. So that's kind of the very high-level overview of the current capabilities. I'm going to just give you a quick glimpse of that in a slide form, but I promise I will show you all these capabilities live in a demo in a moment. So here are all the different sources that we support, different types of files, etc. Of course, you can harvest on demand or schedule it. I talked about data lake capabilities that are special in the form of understanding a group of files, large group of files as a logical entity so that you can make a meaningful query out of for those kind of data sets. And then governance with business glossary and enrichment. We talked about the notion of creating the vocabulary, building a hierarchy of terms and categories so that you can actually have a common business language when you talk to other peers. And then annotations and tags, etc., can be actually added as well. Custom properties is a very important function. Whatever we collect in the form of technical metadata is not sufficient for users to actually understand what this is about. So you can actually create your own properties, metadata properties, and populate them with the right values so that somebody comes in and sees they actually get the technical aspect as well as the business aspect of the data assets. And then search and browse. I will show you a demo of that. Pretty straightforward, pretty common experience when it comes to searching and browsing in the catalog and viewing the details. And then the environment is collaborative. It can be used by multiple users, and it has a nice homepage that actually has a lot of different capabilities that I will show you in a moment here. And the last slide, I think, in this particular section is that about the Oracle Cloud itself, right? I talked about this idea that we are a native OCI service. which means that we are highly scalable, we're highly secure, reliable, we have SLAs around that, and it's a serverless system. You don't have to worry about versioning anything. It's all done within the Oracle Catalog, OCI Data Catalog space. And then if you want to control who actually can do what in the catalog, who can view certain assets, who can actually even change a few things, who can manage glossary, who can create custom properties and all that, you can manage all of that via the IAM-based policy management framework. And like I mentioned earlier, let's say you're building another service, you don't want to use the catalog UI. Sure, all the things that we are available in the UI are actually available in the form of APIs and SDKs as well. So feel free to use that as an augmentation of the things that you are building using the metadata backbone that we are building behind the scenes. So that's, in a nutshell, a very quick overview of what OCI Data Catalog can do for you. Now let's switch to a live demo. All right. So I'm going to start with the basic. Let's start with logging into our OCI console. Okay, so now let's start with our OCI console. I'm logged in here. And there are plenty of different services that OCI offers. I highly recommend you check them out. There are lots of different kinds, as you can see on the global navigation here. And I won't go into all of those things here, but Catalog lives under the Data and AI Services umbrella. And you can see there are other services here as well. So let's start with the catalog, right? And you have catalogs that you have created here. I have created a couple of them. So I'm going to start with my demo system, obviously, too, so that we can actually look at something meaningful and highly kind of mature system, if you will, as you would have in your organization. So this is the homepage. It has some big search bar. I'll tell you about that in a minute. But it has, then we have notions of data assets, which are basically systems that you connect to in the form of databases, objects or buckets, and so on. You have entities, which are synonymous to tables, files, etc. We talked about business glossary. So as I go through the demo, you'll see some of these things, but I just wanted to give you a sense of what the homepage is about. Now, I'm going to start with the core problem that we were trying to solve, the data discovery aspect of it, right? So let's start with search. And I'll tell you actually how this all came together. But let's start with a consumer-based experience, data consumer-based experience, okay? So I'm going to search for something like customer, okay? I'm looking for customer data. I'm a data engineer, data scientist. I'm looking for customer data. It's a standard search experience as you can expect. It's showing you a lot of different kinds of data objects, if you will, some attributes there like columns, business terms, entities. So let's look for only entities. I want to look for only like tables or files that I may have. I want to see something that is only updated by me, right? Something like that. And then not only do I want to do that, I actually want to see something that is updated on, let's say, weekly basis. Now, as you can see, as I'm actually navigating through and applying different kinds of filters, I'm actually trying to hone in on a specific type of data asset that I'm looking for. So eventually I land on these two, and I look at this and I say, oh, this one actually looks interesting because it is certified. Now that's great, right? And I know Robert, I know Manju. So these kinds of things actually help you find things quickly. Imagine if you didn't have that, you would have to ask around, like, which one should I use? Is it certified or not? Is it okay to use for marketing? Is it okay to use for financial reporting? So on and so forth. Who owns it? Who should I ask? All that actually is solved by giving you a self-service data discovery experience. We have correct information in the background, which we'll come to that later, but just the idea that you can find things quickly without asking around is a big productivity gain for your data stakeholders. Okay, so let's look at customers. What is this about? Okay, apparently it's an ADW table, right? And it's coming from this particular schema. It was updated at this time by the metadata system. It has these 8 attributes, right? So we are now actually looking into the details, the technical details of the particular table here. And it actually has these different columns. Great, I like those. And oh, there is a primary key as well here. I know that which primary key actually I can use if I wanted to join with something. Great. So now, as you can see, I got a lot of information about the technical aspects. I can open these things also and see what the details of those. But you get the idea, right? I am getting all the technical information. Now let's go one step further. That is just part of the problem. I want to understand the business aspect, the business properties, right? Who are the owners? if I have a question about this? Where is it coming from? What is actually it is, what does actually mean, this information, what does actually mean from a table perspective? What is the intended usage? Now, all of these properties are actually paramount when it comes to understanding applicability of a given data set. What kind of security group do I need to be part of to be able to access this data? So these things are actually important for a data consumer to quickly find, and Catalog gives you that capability, right? So that's one way of doing things. Now, let's say I'm a data expert. I actually am a subject matter expert. I can go ahead and edit some of these properties, and I can say, well, the data set in this particular table actually applies to only North America. Great, right? Is the data quality good or bad? Well, I can indicate, that, okay, data quality is actually acceptable, so we can indicate that. So as a data provider, now I have a way to communicate the information about the data asset with other data consumers in one single place, a single collaborative environment. Now that's collaboration, right? So I can update that. And then anybody who comes in and looks at this data set, they will know exactly what's going on. The other way of adding more data business context actually is tags. We can say, you know what, this actually can be really useful for marketing. So let's add a tag. Somebody looks for marketing data, they can find it. Someone might say, well, you know what, it's actually pretty sensitive information here. I can add like a tag called sensitive. So that's how actually, you can add more free-form information. There is more. Beyond that, let's say you want to understand, what does customer mean? How do we define a customer? You can do that as well. So I can actually see a glossary term here that is linked, and that tells me what the business concept is behind this particular physical manifestation of table. I can actually open it up and see more details of that glossary term. Well, I can see that, oh, Charu is the owner. It's updated by Abhiram, and so on. By the way, it is also used in compliance projects. So there is a lot of other information enrichment that is also available here that I can actually learn from. There is a glossary hierarchy here. If I want to know more customer terms like that, I can actually see the glossary. So this is all actually by built. Obviously, like I said, it's a mature system and a data consumer view. I can also see what are the other terms that may be linked to it. Oh, looks like that there are different types of customer bands, if you will, and there is information about that, who is the high value customer and so on. And beyond that, I can also see what other objects actually have been linked. And that tells me that, of course, customer information is generally all over the place. So there's lots of different tables that manifest the concept of business, customer in our organization. So this is very powerful. I started with something, I did a search, I did some exploration in the glossary, and I now find many more other tables that actually might be more useful to me. So that's how a consumer can actually experience a quick search and discovery. And once I find something interesting, then I actually connect I know what to connect to, and I can actually go and find and connect and start using that in my analytics project. So that's one way of finding things. The other way of finding things, let's say you're a data scientist and you're trying to work with, let's say you have something to do, some project to do with your services that you're running, and there are logs that are being generated. I can see here that there is a tag called service logs. Now, obviously, this is manufactured data, so it's all kind of, to make a point. But as you can see here, I can actually had to clear the filters, but I can see that there are these specific entities that are tagged as service logs, and I can search by that. So if I open it up, I can see that this particular entity is actually a logical entity, which means that it actually represents a set of files. So obviously, it will have things like attributes and so on, but it also has a notion of what files does it represent. So as you know, in data lakes, it's quite possible that a set of files in a specific organizational form can represent a single table, if you will. Here I can see that these files are actually part of this logical entity, and they follow a pattern. And if you know how to actually utilize this information beyond how to use the pattern, how to use the wildcards and all that, and what type of file it is, you can actually create layers on top of it to be able to see that file and use it in a meaningful manner in your consumption tools. So that's logical entities. So as you can see, this actually is meant for different types of user, whether you're a business analyst, data scientist, data engineer, you can actually utilize this information by by searching and discovering. But how did it all happen? Let's quickly look at that. So I know I'm running out of time here. Let me quickly close some of these things and show you very quickly how actually it all worked out. So I already showed you how the glossary worked out, but how did we get all these different asset information in there? Well, for that, you need to create a data asset. And when you create a data asset, you basically are telling the system that, okay, I have an Oracle database that I want to connect to and collect metadata from, and I host, port, and all that you have to provide. And then, by the way, private endpoints. What this means is that this particular database, if I check this box, this particular database actually is behind a firewall, if you will, maybe your on-prem system or some other cloud system or something like that. And you have to set up this private endpoint. No time to do all of that here. But once you set that up, you can actually access on-prem systems as well. Just wanted to show you that that's possible. Once you create that, what you can do is do harvesting. Harvesting is the process of actually connecting that system and collecting all the information and basically creating that knowledge base. So I'm using this connection and I'm going to actually pick and choose what I want to harvest. Let's say these two schemas I want to harvest. And I can create a job to basically bring in that information to the catalog. It can take a while, so that's why we create a job. And now you can run it now, or you can schedule it. It's classic stuff. Then you run asynchronous jobs. But you can now create a job and then bring in that system. Once you bring that information, you will see them here in schemas and tables and so on and so forth. So if you have a very technical view of things, you can actually go this way and actually build an asset and harvest that. The other aspect that we talked about was about actually being able to create those custom properties. So let me quickly give you a preview of that. So let's say you're a catalog administrator who is responsible for creating these custom properties. A data steward might come in and say, you know what, I would really want to have something called applicable regions. I want that property to be available to our users so that they know what regions that data set applies to. I want archival data. I want technical owners. I want business description. So you are now creating yourself as a user all these different new properties that can then be applied to specific object types. And now they will be available to all those object types to be populated. So pretty powerful way to actually manage technical and also business information for you to be able to create the property, make sure that it shows in search results, can be filtered, so on and so forth. But it's pretty powerful process by which actually you can manage the business aspect of the information as well. So like I said, there is a lot that is in this product that we can actually explore. There is browse, there is file patterns that you can use for creating these logical entities and so on. This was a very quick overview of what we can do, but the core idea is, again, search, discovery, understanding what you have there from technical and business aspects. And then once you have found something that you can trust, that is fit for use, then you can use it for your analytical use cases. So that's what a catalog usage would look like. Hope that was helpful. All right, so that was a quick demo of the OCI Data Catalog service. I invite you to try it out. It's currently at no cost service, so definitely try it out. So to summarize, like I said, it can help you find data in your ecosystem. It can help you capture the business context in the form of glossary or annotations and tags and all that. And then, as we mentioned earlier, it is optimized for Oracle Cloud. So please go ahead and if you have an OCI tenancy, it's available to you. Create catalog, harvest data, metadata, and all that, and try it out. I'm sure you'll find a lot of value in having a catalog service. Now, quickly, let's look at what we are planning for future. So from a catalog perspective, we believe that our primary goal is to actually enable other services using this metadata backbone, obviously search and discovery and all that. But beyond that, we want to actually provide this metadata capabilities to other service. And that is why we are building this unified catalog that can span across object store and AWS and so on. So data lake use cases will be even better now. We will be creating what we're calling Hive Meta Store that can be used to reflect the information in the object store and in a persistent manner. We're going to start doing data profiling so that we can actually understand the content of data in a much better manner. We're going to actually do data lineage, which is a very critical capability when it comes to understanding the provenance of data, where it came from, how is it moving in the organization. And that can be very powerful when you're looking at doing change impact. What if I change something here? How does it affect somebody else or some other systems in downstream? So a lot of such future plans that we have. another quick view of this same idea. But as you can see, we have this metadata harvesting layer that will keep expanding in the form of accessing and harvesting metadata from more and more systems. We'll have a lot of capabilities planned that are actually AI and ML based. Of course, we want the catalog to be a low entry bar system where the system can take care of a lot of things for you. So the catalog itself will have a lot of AI/ML capabilities, but it will also apply AI and ML on top of catalog content so that the consuming service that you see on the top can actually gain more and more understanding and value out of the metadata that we have collected. And then there's a lot of other enhancements and new features that we have planned. But I think the point that I want to make here is that catalog is pervasive. It can provide a lot of capabilities. It will harvest metadata from a lot of different systems, and it will provide intelligence to a lot of systems that actually want to consume that. And that's what kind of this roadmap shows you here. If you have any questions, of course, reach out to us and we can help answer those questions for you. And if you have, offline, you want to look at something, definitely there is a lot of content available in the form of product page, documentation, and lots of blogs, by the way, to help you with best practices, kind of explaining some of the core concepts in a bit more readable manner and much more consumable manner. So definitely utilize those assets that are available there as well. And I hope that you find this session useful and check out these different assets and also the catalog service and start using it today. All right, now let's see if you have any questions from the participants here. All right, so the first question that I got was, does OCI Catalog have AI/ML capabilities? Of course, like I talked about, we want to augment the work that is happening by humans, right? I mean, there's a lot of enrichment happening. There is a lot of manual feed that is going into the system. We want to automate that. If I can find what glossary terms can be linked to technical aspects, I want to do that. If I can somehow propagate the information from, let's say, a tag or a business glossary or a custom enrichment from one asset to another based on the data characteristics, we want to do that. Essentially, knowledge that we are building, we don't want you to be repeating that over and over. We want you to automate all that. So there's a lot of automation that we're planning in the catalog itself that will be using AI/ML capabilities. Yes, absolutely. Oh, interesting. Can I get RPD metadata from OCI? So the goal behind data catalog is absolutely to support all the Oracle services, especially in cloud, right? And Oracle Analytics Cloud is one of the best consumers of this metadata. So yes, we do plan to harvest metadata from OAC. I cannot comment on timelines at this time, but we do plan to get the presentation layers and the logical layers and the physical layers involved, the dashboards, analysis, and projects and all that. That will be all part of our plan to get the metadata, and then we can draw lineage so that you can see where a particular field is coming from throughout those different layers. Yes, the answer is yes. So the question is, how will this be integrated with data science? So data science, if you think about it, actually has also need for discovery, right? Data discovery. So that's an obvious one, right? So we might actually build some built-in capabilities in data science service itself so that maybe a data scientist doesn't want to come to catalog at all. They want to be in their environment, type in a search, find all the information, pick something, drop it in the notebook. So that's the kind of integration that we are thinking about. Essentially, the goal is to not necessarily take those out of their context. So whether you think about data science or OAC or data integration or data flow or all the other services that we are thinking about, we want it to be very context-based. So yeah, they can come to catalog also, but we want to build plugins, if you will, inside those services to be able to use the catalog capabilities without even knowing that there's a catalog behind the scenes. So yes, that's the kind of capability we're planning. Yes, so what is the plan for data lineage? I alluded this to earlier that the data lineage capabilities are to help you basically understand where the data came from. Maybe it has come from like a Oracle database into an object store, into a warehouse, into a OAC system, and multiple hops in between, and the transformation in between, right? So that's the capability that we're trying to build. The goal is to be able to use that for understanding where the data came from and how something might impact if I changed, so the impact analysis as well. That's the plan. Again, like I said, I cannot comment on the actual final timelines, but the general idea is that we will be focusing on high-value Oracle systems first, like OAC and data integration and so on, and then we'll keep on expanding that in the form of breadth as well as depth of lineage that we collect. So that's the plan. Yeah, any best practices for using tags versus glossary versus custom properties? So tags are more free form, right? And you typically would, you want users to be able to add their information, that things that they know without much hassle, right? You want to invite them to actually collect, provide enrichments. So those are the tags for, right? I can say, oh, it's for my project of this kind. It's for, a snapshot of something. So it is more fluid, if you will, whereas glossary terms are controlled vocabulary, right? It actually takes time to, trust me, it takes more time to agree on definition of a term than to actually get it into the system. We have import-export capabilities via Excel in glossary. That's easy. Defining the term, that takes more time. So you want to use glossary in cases where you have a business vocabulary that you want to use that spans across data sets, that spans across data stores, that spans across systems, right? So let's say a concept of customer spans across. So you want to use glossary for that. Custom properties, on the other hand, are specific to a data set itself. So you're looking at a data set, let's say customer, you're looking at a data set called order. The property that you populate is for that particular table, right? So that's where you use custom properties. So tags are more free form, glossary is a common business concept, custom property values are for that data set. That's how I would actually kind of use those things when it comes to enrichment for a given data set in catalog. Okay, so those are the questions that we had so far. Any more questions? Okay, I hope you enjoyed this session. Thank you for your attention.